Hello again, witchy people. This is a VR to Jenny at the Flight of the Wren. Not the first VR I have done to Jenny. This is not a pagan or witchy subject. It's specifically aimed at this video that Jenny done, I think it was in May of this year, where she talks about her journey and the disadvantages, but also the advantages she's had because of her hearing loss. It was her journey. And I say advantages because I think some of what came over when she was talking was she's realised that she has some amazing friends and a wonderful family. But she does talk about the disadvantages of hearing loss. Jenny also suffers from tinnitus. I had my first serious bout of tinnitus when I was 14, and that increased in volume and frequency until I was about 17, when my tinnitus became permanent. And Jenny has some amazing tips and tricks, not only for the person who's dealing with this problem, but for the people who interact with others who have hearing problems and tinnitus. So why is this important to me? My daughter, my eldest daughter, I have 3 daughters and 1 son. My eldest daughter was born deaf, possibly due to the trauma of her birth. She was also born dead, and they just about got her back in time. They think the trauma of this affected her hearing, and she did recover her hearing around about, I think she was around about 2 years old, when we realised that she was responding to certain levels of sound and certain noises. So by the time she started preschool, her hearing, as far as we know, was perfect. As a parent, as well as the person who has this hearing loss and the family, it is a very isolating experience. I think Drew, she who walks between the worlds, mentioned this in a comment. It is isolating. It sets you apart from your community, not the rest of the world maybe, but from your direct community. You then become different. And if you suffer from loss of hearing, sometimes it's not apparent to other people. If you have bad eyesight, you may wear glasses. If you have joint problems, you will carry a stick. But if you wear a hearing aid, it's not always apparent. It's not always easy to see. So people don't react to you in a way that's appropriate. They're not doing it on purpose, but they don't react to you in an appropriate way that you can understand. So Jenny mentioned that when people ask her for a question, like if they ask her for directions, they will say, "Do you know the way to?" And then they'll turn their head away and point to where they think the direction is, where they need to go. And of course, the minute you lose that eye and face contact, that recognition, especially if you read lips, or read lips to help you understand, then you have lost the conversation completely. Like I said, Jenny has some amazing tips and tricks to deal with all of this, and I will link her video below. This woman is astoundingly courageous as far as I'm concerned. The fact that after her hearing loss was diagnosed and she wasn't born with hearing loss, it was something that developed, when she was in further education, she went to further education knowing that she had hearing loss, and she puts a lot of her success down to the fact that she had friends who helped her and included her in things, but she has to take on some of that herself and say that she did an amazing job. She tried hard. She didn't just sit back and think, oh, I can't hear properly, I'm going to... Cars outside, motorbikes outside. She didn't just sit back and feel sorry for herself. She is an incredibly positive lady. And I think she has to have a lot of kudos and, you know, recognition for that fact alone. But the advice she gives is fantastic. My mother has developed deafness, hearing loss, as she has grown into a more mature lady. The doctors think that probably within the next 3 to 5 years she will be completely deaf. My mother-in-law has been suffering from increasing hearing loss since I think her 50s, and she now wears hearing aids, 2 hearing aids permanently, and without them, even with them, she's not the best at being able to interact with, but it makes it fun. I mean, I can remember when my daughter was about 6 months old, 7 months old, when other children are learning how to speak. We were, as a family, learning very basic sign language. And this is actually quite difficult, because the sign language that we were taught to interact with children so that our children, our deaf children, hard of hearing children, could interact with the world and everyone else, is very different to what you're taught today. There is not really a basic sign language. It's not one sign language, there's a lot. There are, I can't remember what it's called now, but there is one more for children. But I mean, when my daughter was little, and she still remembers them now, there was thank you, sweetie, and cupcake. Now this does not mean cupcake any longer. This means a box, I think, because you're putting a lid onto a box. So you see, it changes. We did have, when she was older, some friends who were hard of hearing, and it kind of kept her in the loop, if you like. She still identifies with children and with adults, with people in general who are hard of hearing, because that's the first thing she knew. I think also that this start that my daughter had in life has helped her become the woman that she has become. And my daughter, some of you may know, I have mentioned it before, owns, set up and runs and coaches a cheerleading team. Now her cheerleading team, she has 2. They're called Eclipse Elite and Eclipse Inclusive. The idea of her setting this up, you're thinking, what has this got to do with her being born deaf? Because she has this openness and understanding of what it's like to be disabled in some way. She set up this cheerleading team originally to help children with some form of disability or disadvantage. She has some amazing children in her team who suffer with Down syndrome. And, you know, because they are included and encouraged with able-bodied and able children. I'm not going to say normal children, because really, are any children completely normal? If they were completely normal, we'd worry. But because they all interact together, it's made everyone a lot more confident. But I think this started off because of her disadvantages early in life, and the fact that she grew up with a brother who has cystic fibrosis. So she has this, but the main thing was because her hearing loss, it was all she knew when she was very young, and she's remembered that. She's retained some of that information, that things were different for her. And the reason I'm going on all about this is it's a bit late now. Deaf Awareness Week was back in May. But I think Jenny made some really valid, interesting and important points. And I think everyone should go and watch her video. Everyone should watch Jenny's video about her journey of hearing loss and tinnitus. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. A VR to a video made by an amazing and brilliant young lady. So go and have a look. She is good. You'll enjoy it. I promise you will enjoy it. That's all there is to it. I'm going to go now. Thank you again for watching, witchy people, and I'll be back very soon with some more pagan content, I suspect, or maybe not. You never know. Thank you, and bye bye for now.